Whether you're building a navigation bar, a layered web graphic, or an entire web page comp, if you're starting from scratch in Photoshop, your first step will be to make a new file. In Photoshop's new dialog box, you'll encounter some terms like color mode, bit depth, and resolution, which I'll cover in this movie. So let's say that I'm about to create a new blank file in which I'm going to build a web page layout. Before I begin building a layout, it's a good idea to do some research to try to determine the best size for the layout. I've jotted down the width and the height that I estimated my pages should be by using the screenshot method that I described in the last movie. So now I'll go up to the File menu, and I'll choose New. Here in the New dialog box, I can give the file a name. I'll call this Homepage Comp. I don't have to add the file format to the name. That will be added automatically when I save the file. Then I'll go to the Preset area. There are lots of preset sizes that I could use here, but I'm just going to fill in the blanks manually. First, I'm going to set up the width and height of the web page layout that I'm making. Because I'm designing for the web and not for print, I'll change the units of measurement from inches to pixels. And when I do that for the width field, the height field changes automatically too. I'll type in the page dimensions that I figured out using my screenshot method. In this case, 1000 pixels of width and 650 pixels of height for the area above the scroll in the browser that I measured on a Mac set to 1024 by 768 screen resolution. The next field is the resolution field. Because I've set the dimensions of the file in pixels in the width and height fields, it really doesn't matter what number is here in the resolution field. It doesn't have to be 72, as you may have heard, because in this particular dialog box in Photoshop, resolution just means the number of pixels that would be allocated to every printed inch if the file were printed. I don't intend to print the file, I'm making it for the web, and the size on screen will be fixed by the number of pixels of width and height that I've entered up here, regardless of what number is in the resolution field. As evidence of that, notice that with a resolution of 72, the image size reported over here is about 1.8 megabytes. The image size is the size that the image will take up in memory. If I were to change the resolution field over here to something else, say 300 pixels per inch, the image size stays the same. So I'll go ahead and put that back to 72 because I know some people are more comfortable with that, but it honestly doesn't matter. So now I'm going to move to the color mode field here. I'll leave that set to RGB color. Color mode is the color model that is used to describe colors in an image. When I design for the web, color mode should always be set to RGB color because a web browser can't read these other options, grayscale or CMYK and the others. And this is true, by the way, even when I'm creating a file that I want to resemble a black and white photograph. The next field is for bit depth. Bit depth is the amount of color information in the image. Although Photoshop supports 16-bit and to some extent 32-bit images, today's web browsers don't, so I leave this set to 8-bit. Then I'll move to the background contents field, which sets the color of the background or bottom layer in the file. Whatever I choose here really isn't crucial because I can change the background color later. If I'm making a transparent graphic, I'll choose transparent here. Otherwise, I'll just leave this set to white, or I could use whatever color happens to be in the background color box in the toolbox. And finally, I'll open up this advanced area to confirm that the color profile is set to sRGB because that's the RGB working space that I set up in my color settings. sRGB is the recommended color profile for a file destined for the web, as I explained in another movie on color management. I'll ignore the pixel aspect ratio field, it's really not relevant here, and I'll close the advanced area. Finally, I'll click OK, and that opens this new blank file all ready to be worked on in Photoshop. I'm going to save the file. I'll go up to the File menu, and notice that the Save option is grayed out, it's not available. That's because this file has never been saved, so instead I'll choose Save As. And in the Save As dialog box, I'll make sure that Format is set to Photoshop, or PSD format, because the web page mockup that I'm building is likely to have lots of layers and other Photoshop proprietary features, and the Photoshop format will retain all of those. So I'll click Save, and I'm ready to begin building a web page comp with the proper size, bit depth, color mode, and resolution for a file destined for the web.